Below the waves, in the crushing darkness of the ocean floor, lies the most critical and vulnerable infrastructure of the modern age. Thousands of miles of fiber optic cables, often no thicker than a garden hose, carry over 95% of the world's data. This is the invisible skeleton of the Internet, the silent lifeblood of global finance, military command, and daily communication for billions of people. But this network is now the front line of a new, silent Cold War. From the US blocking Chinese companies to mysterious sabotages in the Red Sea, the battle for the abyss has begun. If these cables are cut, our civilization doesn't just lose its connection, it loses its mind. Today, we dive into the secret war for the Internet's throat. To understand the true stakes of this underwater battlefield, we must first understand the staggering scale of the infrastructure. We often think of the Internet as something ephemeral, floating in the clouds or beamed down from satellites like Elon Musk's Starlink. But the physical reality is far more grounded, and far more precarious. Every single second, trillions of dollars in financial transactions, massive streams of military intelligence, and the entire world's communication pulse through these underwater wires. A single well-placed cut in a strategic maritime choke point like the Malacca Strait, the Red Sea, or the English Channel could trigger an immediate global economic collapse, plunging entire continents into a digital darkness in a matter of seconds.
In this quiet seaside town in northern France, thousands of miles of cables are manufactured each year and then dropped into the ocean to become the superhighway of the Internet. Over 95% of international internet traffic travels from continent to continent through cables on the ocean floor that, for the most part, are no larger than a garden hose.
That translates into $10 trillion a day in economic transactions that go over these cables that most people don't know exist.
There are nearly 1 million miles of subsea communication cables in service globally, running from almost every continent. These cables can carry hundreds of terabits of data per second. To understand how subsea cables work, CNBC visited the world's largest manufacturer of these internet arteries. We're here at Alcatel Submarine Network's subsea cable manufacturing facility in Calais, France. It's cables just like this one behind me that span the oceans. There's hundreds of them. And information that travels along these cables includes anything from financial transactions and government communications to things as simple as email and streaming movies. About how many people would you say are able to communicate through one of these cables?
The entire planet through one cable.
One of these cables, the entire planet can talk?
Yes, in terms of voice call, you can use that.
You've seen this huge growth in submarine cables over the past 20 years, and this is driven by just a voracious demand for data.
Much of this new demand and investment is coming from tech giants, including Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon, who are all racing to develop computation-intensive AI models and connect their growing networks of data centers.
AI is increasing the need that we have for subsea infrastructure. Oftentimes when people think about AI, they think about data centers, they think about compute, they think about data. But the reality is, without the connectivity that connects those data centers, what you have are really expensive warehouses.
But the importance of this critical infrastructure has also made it the target of suspected sabotage.
Germany, Sweden, and Finland are all investigating the damage to 2 undersea communities.
This extreme vulnerability has turned undersea cables into the ultimate tool of geopolitical leverage. China, through its ambitious Digital Silk Road initiative, is aggressively building its own network of cables to connect Europe, Asia, and Africa, effectively bypassing US-aligned hubs. For the Pentagon and Western intelligence agencies, this is a strategic nightmare. If China builds the cable, they control the data flowing through it. The US has already stepped in to block Chinese firms like HMN Tech from major contracts, effectively splitting the global internet into 2 competing, adversarial webs, one led by Washington and one by Beijing. We are seeing the balkanization of the internet, starting on the ocean floor.
Emerge off the south of France, dubbed the Peace Cable. It'll be able to transfer 90,000 hours of Netflix from China to Europe and Africa in just 1 second.
Peace is a Chinese cable. It's paid mainly by a Chinese operator, and as I have mentioned, it will use mainly to transport some Chinese data.
The cable itself will be built by China's Hongtong, and French telecom giant Orange will operate its landing station in Marseille. The French port will connect China to Europe via Egypt over 7,500 miles across the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. Another route will head to South Africa via Kenya over more than 9,000 miles across the Indian Ocean. A feat in engineering, but the biggest hurdle may be geopolitical. Huawei is a big shareholder in the company building the peace cable, a sticking point on security for the U.S.
In Canada, for example, we've seen data be rerouted to China. We've also seen, for instance, what happened with the African Union. So it's clear that Huawei has a pattern of behavior that shows data being moved to China.
Internet giants like Google and Facebook already said they won't use the peace cable, officially because they have enough data transfer capacity. However, last year, both Google and Facebook suspended part of another cable they were supposed to build between LA and Hong Kong over data security concerns. While the US has taken a harder stance against Chinese telecom technology, French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Angela Merkel have signaled that despite the security risks, they won't isolate China.
You don't take unnecessary risks, but there are many risks associated with taking a nationalistic view to technology. It can potentially break the architecture of the internet.
And whether or not the US is happy about it, the proportion of Chinese-built undersea...
But the war is no longer just about who builds the cables. It's about who can destroy them. In late 2023 and early 2024, reports emerged of multiple submarine cables in the Red Sea being cut during the escalation of regional conflicts. While many are officially attributed to dragging anchors, the suspicion of deliberate sabotage by state-sponsored actors hangs heavy. The message is clear: the internet's throat is exposed and vulnerable. Spy submarines, once designed for nuclear deterrence, are now being retrofitted with mechanical claws and sensors specifically to tap into fiber optics or sever them completely during a full-scale conflict.
Reports say submarine cables in the region have been severely damaged. According to a Hong Kong telecoms company, cables belonging to 4 major telecom networks have been cut. Now, this has affected at least 25% of telecommunication traffic flowing through the Red Sea. It's also forced providers to reroute traffic between Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Now, experts say repairs are unlikely to take place for at least another month. These underwater cables are seen as an invisible force driving the internet in the region. In fact, many of them have been funded by tech giants such as Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta. Any damage to these networks can cause widespread internet outages as seen following the 2006 Taiwan earthquake. The destruction of underwater cables in the Red Sea comes weeks after Yemen's government warned of the possibility of Houthi rebels targeting these very networks. Now, Israel has blamed the Houthis for damage to the cables. However, the Iran-backed group has denied any and all allegations. The Houthis have instead blamed the United States and the UK militaries operating throughout the region. The Houthis have been relentlessly targeting shipping vessels in the Red Sea, the Bab el-Mandab Strait, and the Gulf of Aden. In the latest, the Iran-backed group claims to have attacked an Israeli ship in the Arabian Sea.
Triumphing over the oppressed Palestinian people and in retaliation for the American-British aggression against our country, the naval forces of the Yemeni armed forces carried out a targeting operation against an Israeli ship, MSC Sky, in the Arabian Sea with several suitable naval missiles, and the hit was accurate and direct. The targeting operation came only hours after carrying out a qualitative operation during which the missile force and the unmanned air force launched several ballistic missiles and drones at many enemy American warships in the Red Sea.
Now, the Houthis say their attacks are in solidarity with the people of Gaza. In retaliation for these attacks, the United States and the UK have been...
As we move into an era of AI-driven economies, the demand for bandwidth is exploding, making these cables more valuable than oil pipelines. This has triggered a silent underwater arms race. Sovereignty in the 21st century is being decided in the crushing depths of the ocean. Nations are now deploying autonomous underwater vehicles to guard their digital lifelines, while adversaries develop the means to hunt them. The battle for the abyss is not just about communication, it's about the very survival of the global order as we know it. He who controls the deep sea controls the flow of time and money in the digital age. The next global conflict may not start with a visible missile launch or a localized cyber attack. It may start with a silent cut, thousands of meters below the surface, where no one can see. We have built our entire world on a fragile network we cannot see and can barely protect. The war for the internet skeleton has only just begun, and the world is starting to realize that the abyss is much closer than we think. The deep sea is the final frontier of geopolitical power, a hidden world where the future of the internet is being decided right now. Subscribe to stay informed on the invisible wars and technological shifts that are redefining our world. The age of the abyss is here, and the signals are only getting stronger. We'll see you in the next deep dive.